It's 6 p.m., and your kitchen feels like a small tornado touched down right next to the stove. The grown up dinner is simmering garlic, tomatoes, something that actually took effort while you're standing there making a completely separate kid meal. Beige food again. Chicken nuggets turning pale gold in the air fryer. Plain pasta cooling in a tiny bowl because no sauce tonight. And before you even put the plate down, you hear the routine start up. I don't want this. Where are the nuggets? This looks yucky. You try the negotiation you swore you'd never need. Just 3 bites. You liked this yesterday. The air feels heavy, like you're already defeated before anyone sits down. But here's what you don't see at an Italian dinner table. The whole rhythm of the evening is different, like a completely separate universe of parenting. And this is the part most parents get wrong. But what happens at 7 p.m. in Rome changes everything about how we think about picky eaters. Italian families discovered something not about sneaking vegetables into smoothies, not about Pinterest worthy lunchbox hacks, but about the nervous system and social learning. Kids in Italy eat octopus, bitter greens, and cheeses that smell like they could walk away on their own by age 3. There's no kids' menu hiding in the kitchen, no separate toddler version. Italian families understand something about the developing palate that American parents are getting backwards. And here's the wild part. This method works in 2 to 3 weeks. You can start tonight. No forcing, no bribing, no deals. And once you understand the 3 rules Italian grandmothers never break, you'll never cook a separate kid's meal again. Most parents are accidentally training their kids to be picky eaters. But you won't be one of them after today. We all fall into the same patterns, especially when we're tired and just want everyone fed. You make a separate, kid-friendly meal, plain pasta, nuggets, something beige with no seasoning because it's the only thing they won't scream about. When they reject what's on the table, you instinctively ask, okay, what do you want instead? You offer deals you never meant to offer. 3 more bites and you get ice cream. You rush through dinner just to get it over with. And when they finally eat something, you cheer like they've won an Olympic medal. Good job eating your broccoli. You have to at least try it. This is a no thank you bite. You liked this last week. Fine. I'll make you something else. There's no shame here. Every parent has said these words. We were all taught these strategies. But here's why they don't work. The moment food becomes a negotiation, your child's brain learns food is a power struggle. The second you offer an alternative, you teach them, if I reject this, something better will appear. When you bribe with dessert, you're signaling, this food is so undesirable that I have to pay you to eat it. And underneath all of this, the amygdala, the emotional alarm system in the brain, starts linking dinner with stress, tension, and control. Taste preference isn't just biology, it's shaped by repetition and social modeling. But when meals feel stressful, the brain shuts down food exploration and clings to safe, predictable options. And then it snowballs. What started as a picky phase turns into years of limited eating. You're exhausted from cooking multiple meals every night. Your child misses out on the diversity, the culture, the connection that happens around food, and the anxiety around meals doesn't disappear, it grows with them. What could have been a 3 week adjustment becomes a 10-year battle. Your child learns, slowly and painfully, that meals are something to survive, not something to enjoy. If you've made chicken nuggets 3 nights this week, if you've negotiated vegetables like a hostage situation, if you've felt defeated by a 3-year-old's food demands, you're not failing. You're human. This is what we were all taught. But Italian families were taught something completely different. But here's where Italian families figured out something that changes everything about picky eating. Picture this. It's 7:30 p.m. in a small kitchen in Tuscany. The light is warm, the table is set, and Nonna is sitting with her 3-year-old grandson, Luca. There's no kids' menu hiding anywhere. No tiny bowl of plain pasta waiting as a backup. No one is pleading, Luca, eat your vegetables. No threats, no bribes, no rush. Nonna cooks one meal, Pasta al pomodoro with bitter greens sautéed in olive oil, a few anchovies folded in for depth. She sets it all in the center of the table. Luca climbs onto his chair next to the adults. The meal unfolds the way it always does, slow, easy, conversational. They talk about the day, about the neighbors, about whether the tomatoes were sweeter last summer. Luca pokes at his pasta, eats a little, ignores the greens completely. No one comments. No one sighs or watches him out of the corner of their eye. Nana keeps eating, savoring, enjoying her plate with obvious pleasure, and Luca keeps watching her. The way she twirls the greens, the way she smiles when she takes a bite, the way she talks about the food like it's a small celebration. 20 minutes later, he reaches for a piece of green, just to see what the fuss is about. He chews, he shrugs, he eats a little more. Nobody reacts. Within minutes, Luca is eating food that would make an American toddler scream. Not because he was forced, because he was included. It's the same way a child learns a language not through flashcards or pressure, but by living inside it every day. Italian families don't fight food battles because they understand something simple about the developing brain. Children learn what to eat by watching what you eat. In an environment where food feels like pleasure, not pressure. When you slow down, savor flavors, talk about the food with genuine joy, your child's mirror neurons, the brain's copy and feel system, light up. Their brain literally practices enjoying what you're enjoying. This is social modeling. Your child's palate isn't built from kids' menus. It's built from your plate. One table, one meal, no pressure. That's faster than any negotiation tactic you've ever tried. So let me name this method the family table method. It's called the family table because the table isn't just where you eat, it's where your child learns to eat. One family, one meal, one experience together. I need to warn you. The first rule will feel completely wrong. Every instinct in your body will tell you to encourage them, to praise them, to negotiate, to somehow get them to take just one bite. But that's exactly why the usual approach fails. Italian grandmothers know a secret most of us never learned. The less you say about the food, the more your child will eat. And now I'm going to show you the 5 rules Italian families never break. I want you to imagine trying this tonight, in your own home, with your own child, because once you see how naturally this works, you'll understand why Italian kids eat everything from sardines to bitter greens by age 4. Ready? Let's break it down. Rule 1 is simple. One meal. No alternatives, no backup plan. You cook one meal for the whole family. Not a kid version, not plain pasta hidden in the microwave just in case. What's on the table is what's available. And if they don't eat it, the meal ends. No drama, no disappointment speech, no lecture about vegetables or gratitude. Here's why this works. When your child knows a backup meal is coming, their brain never has to explore what's in front of them. They're not thinking about flavor or hunger or curiosity. They're thinking strategically. If I reject this long enough, something better appears. That creates a power struggle, and the stress of that struggle shuts down the part of the brain that's open to new tastes. But when there's only one meal, the fight dissolves. There's nothing to negotiate, no battle to win. You're not the enforcer, you're just another person sitting at the table. Their nervous system relaxes, and once the stress response drops, taste exploration becomes possible again. The mistake most parents make is assuming this is harsh. But Italian parents know it's actually the opposite. Making alternatives teaches your child that their initial rejection controls the entire household. One meal teaches something far calmer. This is what we're eating, and you are safe even if you don't finish it. Here's the contrast. Without the method, your child pushes away the stir fry, and you sigh, get up, and make mac and cheese. They learn rejection equals reward. With the method, your child pushes away the stir fry, and you keep eating, talking, laughing, enjoying your meal. They watch you. Maybe they try a bite. Maybe they don't. And both outcomes are okay. The meal isn't a battle, it's an experience they're allowed to be part of. Rule 2: serve family style. Put the food in the center. Let them serve themselves. This means everything goes into bowls or platters right in the middle of the table. You don't portion their plate for them. You don't slide a prearranged kid friendly plate toward them. They decide what goes on their plate. They choose what and how much. And here's why this works so beautifully. When kids have agency, real agency, their brain feels safe. They're not being controlled, monitored, or steered. They're making choices, even tiny ones. And that sense of autonomy calms their nervous system. A calm brain explores. A stressed brain defends. And the secret is this: children are far more likely to try food they chose to put on their own plate than food you place there for them. Agency flips the switch. Italian families understand this deeply. Control over the plate equals control over the emotional experience. When you remove the power struggle, the resistance doesn't just soften, it disappears. They're no longer fighting you. They're simply navigating food. At first, you might notice them reach only for the bread or the pasta. And that's completely fine. Over the next few days, something subtle starts to shift. They add a piece of chicken. They try one carrot. They watch you enjoying the olives or the roasted vegetables. And their curiosity grows. Within 2 weeks, their plate looks entirely different, not because you pushed, but because they felt safe enough to explore. Rule 3: slow down. Way down. In Italian homes, meals take 45 to 90 minutes. This doesn't mean everyone sits perfectly still or eats nonstop. It means dinner isn't rushed. You're not shoveling food in or glancing at the clock or announcing, "Come on, hurry up!" You sit, you talk, you linger. Food becomes the background to connection. There's no finish your plate and go. Everyone stays until the meal naturally winds down, even if the toddler gets up and wanders for a few minutes. The table stays, the atmosphere stays, the invitation stays. Here's why slowing down matters so much. When the pace drops, your child's nervous system shifts out of fight or flight and into rest and digest. Their body literally becomes more receptive to tasting, chewing, trying, exploring. Fast, stressful meals activate the amygdala, the part of the brain that screams danger. And when that happens, appetite shuts off, curiosity shuts off, the palate shuts down. But slow meals activate the parasympathetic nervous system, the one designed for safety, digestion, pleasure. Suddenly, their brain is open, not guarding. Italian families don't rush because they know the meal isn't really about the food. It's about belonging. It's about being together. Your child isn't just learning how to eat vegetables, they're learning how to be part of something bigger than themselves. And yes, you're thinking, my toddler can't sit for 90 minutes. And you're right. At first, they won't. They'll squirm, get up, bounce around, lose focus. Italian parents don't panic when that happens. They simply keep the table alive. No pressure to stay seated, no frustration when the toddler wanders for a bit. They always come back. Because children want to be where you are, they return to the warmth, the conversation, the joy. Over time, the table becomes an anchor point in their nervous system, steady, predictable, inviting. Rule 4: no praise, no pressure, no comments about their eating at all. That means you don't say, "Good job eating your broccoli." You don't say, "Just try one bite." You don't say, "You didn't eat much tonight." You eat, they eat. And you talk about anything except what's happening on their plate. Here's why this matters so much. The moment you praise eating, the meal becomes a performance. Your child's brain switches into evaluation mode. Am I doing this right? Am I making them happy? What happens if I don't eat it next time? That kind of pressure? Yes. Even positive pressure creates anxiety. And anxiety shuts down appetite. It shuts down curiosity. It shuts down their willingness to try anything unfamiliar. But when you stay silent about their eating, food becomes neutral again. It's not a test, it's not a requirement, it's not a measure of whether they're good or difficult. The food is simply there, waiting to be explored on their timeline. This is where real food curiosity grows, when a child feels free, not watched. Italian grandmothers understand this deeply. They never say, "Good job." They don't clap when a child eats a vegetable. Instead, they model joy. They say, "This tomato is so sweet," or "Smell this basil," or "The garlic came out perfect today." They talk about the food itself, not the child's performance. And the child learns quietly and powerfully. Food is something to enjoy, not something to achieve. What happens next is almost invisible at first. Within a few days, your child starts eating more when you're not paying attention. They try a bite because no one is watching. They explore because it doesn't feel risky. Without the spotlight, the resistance fades. And suddenly, they're eating more not to please you, but because the pressure is gone. Rule 5. Talk about the food with pleasure, never about whether they're eating it. This part is magical because it looks so simple. You describe the flavors. This lemon is so bright and tangy. You share little stories. Nana used to make this on Sundays. You savor out loud. Mmm, the garlic in this is perfect tonight. What you never say is, "Do you like it? Try it. Eat more." The conversation is about the food, not their behavior. Here's why this works. When you genuinely enjoy the food in front of you, your child's mirror neurons activate the brain's built in system for copying and feeling what others feel. Your child watches you savor something, and their brain practices savoring it too. Not performing, not pleasing you, not avoiding trouble, just feeling what you feel safely. Kids don't learn to like broccoli because we order them to eat it. They learn by seeing us find joy in it, by watching our faces, our reactions, our pleasure. This is social learning at its strongest. Your enthusiasm becomes contagious, not because you direct it at them, but because it's authentic and alive in the room. And then something beautiful happens over time. In week 1, they ignore you completely. You describe the food, and they're too busy protecting their plate of plain pasta to care. By week 2, they're listening. Maybe they ask, "What's that?" Maybe they point at the smell. By week 3, they're trying bites not to impress you, but to see if your description matches what they taste. And by week 4, they're describing food too. "This is crunchy. This tastes like sunshine. This one is spicy." Suddenly, food is an experience, not a task. Italian parents know they're not teaching their child to eat one meal. They're teaching them how to be at a table for life, how to be curious, how to savor, how to belong to something bigger than the plate in front of them. Here's what just happened when you followed the family table method. You stopped making food a power struggle, and the tension that used to sit in your child's little shoulders finally let go. You gave them real autonomy over their plate, and their nervous system relaxed because they weren't being managed or monitored. You slowed the meal down, and their bodies shifted from fight or flight into rest and digest. You removed praise and pressure, and suddenly food wasn't a test anymore, it was just food. And while you talked and savored and enjoyed, their mirror neurons lit up, quietly teaching their brain that meals are about pleasure, not stress. That's not just a different dinner. That's a different relationship with food, one their brain will carry with them for years. But here's what matters most. You didn't just end a picky eating phase. You taught their brain a whole new pattern. When your child sits at a table where food is calm, where they're included, where no one is judging what's on their plate, something powerful happens in the brain. The amygdala, the alarm system, finally quiets. The prefrontal cortex, the part that explores and learns, comes back online. Now they can actually taste. Now they can notice textures. Now they can be curious. You're not just shaping their palate. You're teaching them how to belong to something bigger, a family, a culture, a table that welcomes them exactly as they are. And over time, sometimes in as little as 2 or 3 weeks, that pattern compounds. Meals transform, not because you controlled the situation, but because their brain learned food is safe. Trying new things is safe. This table is mine. They begin trying foods without prompting. They ask to help cook. They describe flavors with this adorable little confidence, like tiny food critics in training. And one day, you'll offer something bold sardines, olives, spicy sausage, and they'll just eat it. No negotiation, no pleading, no battle. Because their brain learned what Italian families have always known. At the table, you are safe. Now, I know exactly what you're thinking. What if they just don't eat? What if they go hungry? So, let's walk through what actually happens. Night 1. You serve one meal. Your child refuses everything except the bread. So, they eat bread. You stay calm. You keep eating. You keep talking. You enjoy your food like a human being instead of a referee. They watch you. The meal ends. You don't offer alternatives. They're fine. Truly fine. Here's the fear whispering in your chest. They're going to starve. Here's the truth. Children do not starve themselves when food is consistently available. Their bodies are wired for survival. Your anxiety? That part was taught to you. Night 3. They're still filling up mostly on carbs, bread, pasta, maybe one lonely piece of chicken they chewed twice before abandoning. But something new is happening. They're watching you more closely. They're curious about what you're eating. They ask, "What's that?" They poke a vegetable with a fork. They don't eat it, not yet, but they touched it. And that is progress in the way the brain learns. You don't comment. You don't cheer. You don't say, "See, you liked it." You just keep eating, keep describing your food, keep showing them the world you want them to join. Week 2, you serve roasted chicken and Brussels sprouts. They put one sprout on their plate completely on their own. They take a bite, make a face, maybe even spit it out. You stay neutral. You take a bite of yours and talk about how crispy and caramelized it is. Your calm teaches them something their nervous system desperately needs. Trying something new is not dangerous. Week 3. They're eating 60% of what's on the table. Not everything, but variety is blooming. They ask for seconds of something they once rejected. They want to help you cook. They're describing flavors. They're asking questions. The battle you've been fighting for years is suddenly gone. Not because they became easy, but because the table became safe. This isn't magic. It's pattern training. You're rewiring a nervous system that learned meals equals stress. That rewiring takes consistency, not perfection. Italian families have practiced this for generations. They trust the method, not the moment. And within 3 to 4 weeks, most parents see dramatic, heart-melting changes in what their kids willingly eat. And if your child eats nothing but carbs the first week, they are not going to suffer. What harms them isn't a temporary stretch of bread and pasta, it's years of food battles, anxiety, and a shrinking palate. Trust the long game. Italian grandmothers do, and their kids grow up eating everything. Let me show you what this looks like 6 months from now. You're hosting friends for dinner. The house smells like braised short ribs that have been simmering all afternoon. On the table, there's a platter of roasted root vegetables, carrots, parsnips, potatoes, glossy with olive oil and herbs. A bowl of bitter arugula sits in the center, dressed simply with lemon and salt. Your 4-year-old climbs onto a regular chair at the adult table. No kids' table tucked in the corner, no separate safe meal waiting under foil. They reach for the serving spoon and put short rib on their plate, then a few carrots, and almost casually a small pinch of the arugula salad. Your friend leans over, whispering out of the corner of their mouth, "How did you get them to eat like that?" And for a moment you don't even know what to say, because you didn't get them to do anything. You didn't negotiate, bribe, praise, coax, or perform. You just stopped fighting. You made one meal. You slowed down. You let them belong. Then something even sweeter happens. Your child turns to your friend's kid who's staring suspiciously at the vegetables and says, "Try this! It's so good!" Suddenly, the modeling has flipped. Your child is now doing for others what you quietly did for them. They're passing on the culture of the table. That's not just picky eating solved. That's connection. That's confidence. That's a child who knows how to sit at a table, anywhere in the world, and feel at home. And then the changes ripple outward. Your child doesn't just stop being picky, the whole pattern dissolves. Food becomes something to explore, not fear. The table becomes a place they want to be, not escape. You'll notice it in tiny, beautiful ways. They wander into the kitchen asking, "Can I help?" They try foods at restaurants because they saw you enjoying them. They start describing flavors like a tiny sommelier with a crayon behind their ear. They request vegetables because they watched your face light up when you tasted them. This isn't obedience. It's curiosity. It's a palate trained through pleasure, not pressure. Meals that once lasted 20 stressful minutes now stretch into an hour of calm, slow conversation. The food anxiety that controlled your evenings starts to fade. Their little body learns a new pattern, one built on trust and belonging. And you get something back too. You stop being the short order cook and become the calm at the table. You stop managing their eating and start modeling your own joy. You stop surviving dinner and start sharing it. So here's your challenge. Tonight, yes, tonight I want you to try something that will feel a little radical the first time you do it. Don't make a separate kids' meal. Don't offer alternatives, hiding in the fridge, just in case. Don't praise a single bite. Don't negotiate. Don't rescue. Just make one meal. Put it in the center of the table. Let them serve themselves. Slow the evening down. Talk about the food with genuine pleasure without once mentioning what they are or aren't eating. Set a timer if it helps. Commit to 45 minutes at the table. Let the moment breathe. Notice what happens. They might eat nothing but bread. They might glare at the vegetables like they owe them money. That's okay, because tonight isn't about this one meal. Tonight is about teaching their brain how to be at the table. That takes time, but the payoff is enormous. And I promise you, if you stay steady for a couple of weeks, you'll end up messaging me about the night they asked for Brussels sprouts. And think back for a moment to where we started. The chicken nuggets, the separate kids' meals, the exhaustion of being a short order cook every night at 6 p.m., the feeling that dinner was something to survive instead of something to share. Here's the beautiful shift. With the family table method, your child might still wrinkle their nose at the vegetables tonight. They might ignore half the plate, but they'll be sitting at your table, eating your food, learning your joy. That changes the whole trajectory because they're not learning to eat perfectly. They're learning to belong. They're learning that the table is safe, that the meal is shared, that they don't have to perform to be welcome. And in a few weeks, the nuggets will be a memory. But the table you're building, that stays with them forever. Your child won't remember the night you served roasted vegetables and they only ate bread. They won't remember the face you made when they pushed away the chicken or the way you quietly hoped they'd just try one bite. What they will remember is the table where they always belonged, the place where food was joy, not judgment, the place where you sat together, lingered together, and shared something bigger than dinner. So choose it. Choose to be the family with one table, one meal, and no battles starting tonight. And when you do, come back and tell me how it went. Tell me what they tried. Tell me the moment that surprised you. Comment below and share your story. Because this method works not instantly, not perfectly, but honestly and consistently. It transforms your table, and it transforms the way your child relates to food and to you. You're not doing this alone. We're building this culture together. And if tonight feels even a little less like a battle and a little more like a meal, stay with us. Subscribe to Think Like a Parent, where the science meets the struggle, and you never eat alone. Buon appetito.